Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Stadia Cast, episode 18. I'm Bill. That's Lloyd. What's going on, Lloyd?
Not much, man. Just getting ready to talk some awesome Google Stadia. We got some news to talk about, so it's going to be a fun show, I think.
We do have a lot of news to talk about, and we got a lot of feedback from you guys. I hope that we can fit that in. If not, we will have to push it yet another day. Maybe we'll have to do an entire episode, depending on how into this AMA that we get. Now, before we get started, I want to let everybody know we record this show live Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. over at youtube.com/StadiaCast. If you want to leave a voicemail for the show, you can do so by heading on over to runjumpstomp.com/voicemail from any device. We may even play it either before or after the show. And if you want to support Stadia Cast directly, you can head on over to our Anchor site, anchor.fm/StadiaCast, and then click on the support this podcast link. And for as little as $1, you can help us create future episodes of Stadia Cast. Now, with all of that stuff out of the way, we got some stuff to talk about. Like, Lloyd and I have been trying to come up with episodes, and I think we've been doing okay coming up with things when there really hasn't been news, because Google has been really tight-lipped about this. But they unbuttoned that lip. They let loose Andriy Duranichev, hopefully I said that name right, on an AMA over at Google. And Lloyd and I had planned on talking about, like, our main topic this week was going to be all about mods, and whether or not Stadia would support mods. And that did get mentioned in the AMA. But if you've never been part or if you're not a Reddit fan, then you might not know what's AMA. Lloyd, do you want to explain that to everyone real quick?
Sure, yeah. So what an AMA is, it's an Ask Me Anything. So basically, to do an AMA, you usually get invited by the official AMA user. It doesn't always have to be that way. But what someone from a company will do is they'll hold up a little sign saying, "Hi, I'm Andrei Dorianichev, and I'm from Google, and it has today's date on it." And then they basically go into a chat where people ask questions, and then they respond to it. And a lot of really famous people have done it, which is always interesting when you get like Barack Obama or like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like people that you don't normally hear from on a day-to-day basis answer questions. That's always fun. But then you also get a lot of AMAs for things like this, where company spokespeople, whether it's for a game or hardware or whatever, will answer questions that the audience has. It's just a really great way to get the audience involved with what you're doing.
That's right. And Andriy Duranichev is the director of product for Stadia. I don't really know what the hell that means. What is a director of product? But they answered a whole bunch of questions over on Reddit, and that's really going to be the focus of today's show. So let's start with a question, and I'm just kind of going in order for the most upvoted things, basically. But here's a question that said, can you clarify what the free game situation is for Stadia Pro, as it is confusing due to mixed messages? Stadia is going to be free next year. You have to pay for it this year by joining via the Founders Pack, and next year it's going to be free. But some people are wondering, are there going to be free-to-play games on Stadia? So games like Fortnite, games like Apex Legends, games like Brawlhalla, like these are games where you can get these games for free, and then there's in-app purchases in order to monetize them. And the response is, to be clear, Stadia Pro is not Netflix for games. Just some people have mentioned. A closer comparison would be like Xbox Live Gold or PlayStation Plus. The Pro subscribers get 4K HDR streaming, 5.1 sound, exclusive discounts, and access to some free games, roughly one free game per month, give or take, starting with Destiny 2. Yay. Okay. Now, I don't think that they answered the question that was really being asked. Do you, Lloyd?
I think so, because the question, the questioner said, "Can you clarify what the free game situation is?" because everyone's saying, well, we get Destiny. What else are we
Oh.
going to get? Are we going to get other games? I think further down in the AMA, they ask about free to play games, which I think are two different answers that Andre gives. So yeah, I mean, I think that's good. I think that's what we kind of expected. We thought that this isn't going to be 100 games available day one, like a Project X Cloud, or whatever Microsoft ends up calling their streaming service. We thought this was going to be more of a here's a collection of games. You're a pro, you get to play these games, which is great. And there's even a clarification to this question further down. We could talk about it now, or we can talk about
let's
it then.
hit it now.
And he another question, I don't have it right in front of me, is like, well,
I
what
do.
happens if you have it right in front of you? Okay,
Yeah,
go.
it says when you say one per month, are you talking? Oh, is this the one you're talking about or not?
There it is.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I missed it. I didn't have it on my screen. I thought it was a separate question. I thought it was from our random noob.
I think that they also asked that question. But
Sure.
It says when you say one game per month, are you talking about a growing pool with one added each month, or are you talking about a single rotating free-to-play game per month? And they responded, it's a growing pool as long as you're a Stadia subscriber. So then somebody followed up again, and this is why AMAs are so great, because there's so many people trying to think of the questions that you end up getting really good questions and good answers. They said, if you happen to unsubscribe and then subscribe again in the future, do you lose access to all of the pro games that you had? And would you also have access to any games added to pro while unsubscribed? Their response is, you will regain access to the pro games you claimed in the past while you were a subscriber, but not the ones that were offered to subscribers while you were unsubscribed. And I think that is perfect. It's exactly how it should be done. If I'm paying the money, I should get access to those games. If I stop paying the money, I should lose access to those games. But if I start paying again, I should get access to those games again. And I think that that's really good. Was that the question that you thought we were talking about, Lloyd?
Yeah, definitely. And that's kind of the way that I wanted it. I mean, that's how PlayStation Plus does it. So I know some people personally where they don't maintain a subscription to PlayStation Plus yearly. They'll buy a month or two depending on what games they're playing and what free games are being offered. So you're going to be able to do the same thing with Stadia Pro. If you don't feel like there's any games that you want to play in 4K, for me, I'm never going to be playing a game in 4K, at least not until I get a new TV or something. That part of Pro doesn't excite me at all, but maybe the free games will. If there's say the next I don't know, Tom Clancy game comes out and then 3 months later it's on Stadia Pro, right? I might be okay, well, $10 or $15 Canadian, sure, maybe I'll buy in, I'll get that game, and then I can play that with friends. So yeah, it gives you the ability to kind of, I don't know, determine whether the cost is justified for any given month.
Although I feel like on PlayStation, that's like 2 to 3 games per month, isn't it?
It's two. Well, in the past, it was 2 PlayStation 4, 2 PlayStation 3, and 2 Vita games. Then they got rid of Vita, so it's just 2 and 2, and now they've gotten rid of PS3, so it's just 2 PlayStation 4 games. So yeah.
And Andres has said it that you only get 1 with Stadia, and that's
roughly 1,
and that's $10 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Which is more than you pay for PSN. So I think that is definitely something that they should address. I think it should be more than 1 game a month. If they're trying to, especially if Stadia is themselves equating it to Xbox Live Gold or PlayStation Plus, I feel like that is something that they need to address. Although, to be fair, go ahead.
Monthly, it's the same price. So
is it
PSN
really?
PSN is $10 a month. Or you can buy a full year for 50 or 60 or whatever it is. Hopefully Stadia will offer something like that as well,
okay,
where you're paying your $10 a month or a discounted price for the whole year of Pro.
See, it never ever occurred to me to buy PS Plus on a month-to-month basis. So I just assumed it was $60 a year. I had no idea that you could buy it month to month at $10 a month. So okay, hopefully, and I wonder if anybody asked this question, I don't know, but hopefully that they have a discount for going for the full year. In which case, if they do, then that's probably what I would end up doing as well.
Same. Yeah.
Second question says, are there any plans for an achievement systems, no details needed, And they said, "Oh yes, achievements. As a lifelong gamer and pathological overachiever, I love achievements." I love this answer. Of course, we'll have something similar to other platforms. However, it will not be there immediately at launch. Will come a little bit later. Why? What? I don't know. How do you feel about it not being there at launch?
PlayStation didn't have trophies at launch for PlayStation 3. It came, I think, about a year and a half after launch. I want to say something along those lines. Yeah, I mean, I used to be a trophy junkie. I was an achievement a gatherer. I won't say what I called myself prior to that, where I was just all about those 100 gamer score, or sorry, 1,000 gamer score per game, or platinum trophies. I've since moved on because I'm a Nintendo gamer and I have to move on because Nintendo doesn't offer a solution. If I've played a lot of games on Steam and I don't care about Steam achievements, so this doesn't really affect me too much. But it's good that it's going to be there for the people that are really into this type of stuff.
For me, I've never been into achievements or trophies in games. I just play the game to have the fun. Like a friend of mine, he would go out and he would buy games just to increase his gamer score. Like that was his whole. Oh, you did that too.
Yep.
I never understood that. But I'm glad that they're including it. I think it's a little odd that, I mean, the reason why trophies weren't in PS3 at launch was because, I think Xbox came up with them, and then they were like, and then PS3 was kind of playing catch up, and then they were in PS4 at launch, right?
They were, yes.
Yeah. And so it's not like that they're a new thing. I find it odd that they won't be ready in November, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Next question. Go ahead.
I was going to say they have to engineer a solution to track all this stuff, and we come into a little bit about that later, about what you're going to be able to do to download if you ever quit and get rid of your Stadia account. But we'll get into that in a little bit.
So then they said, what will free to play games be available on Stadia Base? So the response is no free games on Stadia Base, but hey, Stadia Base gives you free access to state-of-the-art gaming hardware in our data center. You spend your money to buy the games you want. Again, this is where I don't think that they answered the question. Like, I don't think that they understood the question. The question was asking, will free-to-play games be available on Base?
Yep.
And I don't think that they understood that question. And I don't know. They didn't really clarify it in that thread. So
nope.
We can move on from that. Hopefully that will be an option, because you load up Steam and there's lots of free to play games on there, and this is basically a store, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Next question says, if the Stadia service is discontinued, do we know what, if anything, will happen with game purchases? Alternatively, are there any minimum end of life guarantees, etc.? You get the gist of it. So you want to take a look at or give their answer here?
Sure. So they say, we get this a lot. I hear you. Moving to cloud is scary. I felt the same way when music was transitioning from files to streaming. I still have all my old CDs in the garage, although it's hard to find a CD player these days. The same happened to movies, photos, and docs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The better, or the I guess the nugget that we're trying to get at is the games you buy on Stadia are yours to play from day one. Will support takeout so that you can download your game metadata, including saves if you want to. Of course, it's okay to doubt my words. There's nothing that I can say to make you believe if you don't, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So basically Google's saying, hey, it's scary. You've moved to music, you've moved to movies, which is a little bit different, because if I buy an audio CD if I buy a movie and I get a digital version of that movie that I punch into iTunes and I watch it on iTunes, if iTunes goes away, I still have the physical media. I still have my Avengers Endgame Blu-ray or DVD set in front of me. If I buy a game on Google Stadia and it goes away, I don't have that. I don't have that game. So a little disingenuous with that answer. But the fact that Stadia is going to support takeout, which means you can download your save games. I don't know what you're going to do with them, because unless you set up a Stadia cloud and you set up the cards in your basement, what are you going to do with that data? But
yeah, I don't. That's an odd answer. They're making these false equivalents. Although, you say the whole thing where if you buy the Blu-ray set and it comes with the digital thing, I haven't bought a Blu-ray set in ages. I buy all of my movies off
Yeah,
iTunes.
same.
And if iTunes ever goes away, I think it is possible that they would say, okay, you can download your movies one time
Yeah,
only. For Stadia,
exactly.
that's not going to work because these are games that are designed to run on Stadia servers. They're not going to run on your
Sure.
local hardware. So I don't
I
like this answer. I think that this answer is a little disingenuous, like you said.
Yep.
And I love the idea where that you're like, okay, download your save game data and then go buy the game again and insert your from Steam or something and insert your save game data
If
into
it's
it
even compatible.
if
Like,
it's
who
even
knows if it'll be
compatible.
compatible.
Right.
And they also say you can download your game metadata. So that will probably be date purchased, how many times you've played, how long you've played, all your achievements, things like that. You'll be able to download all that stuff and store it if you want. But I don't know how that is really important to a lot of people. I could see potentially down the road Stadia fails, things are blowing up, they're just pulling, they're cutting bait and getting out of there. I could see that they could make an agreement with, say, like Steam or something to give you those games and then download the saves maybe in the future. But for the most part, save games on one system aren't compatible with save games on another system. So I don't see where downloading your save games is really going to be of value to anybody.
The Stadia crowd in our live chat says, if you buy a game on Xbox digitally, what happens if the Xbox goes away? That's a perfectly valid issue. This is not something that is exclusive to Stadia. It is
Yeah.
something that is exclusive to digital media. And when you
The,
are dealing with digital media, this is a question people are definitely going to ask, I think.
Exactly. And but the difference with the Xbox thing is if you know Xbox is going away, you grab a big hard drive, you download all your games
Mm-hmm.
to your Xbox, and then you have them until your Xbox dies. Stadia goes away, there's nothing to download until your PC dies or to your TV dies or whatever that replacement for the console is. So we've had that in the past where games have been removed from the store. You download them, you store them on your PS4 or your Xbox. You're fine because you have the games. They're no longer available for anybody else, but you still have them. For Stadia, you don't. There's no way to do that. You can't download the game to future proof it. You're basically limited to having every single thing about that game exist in the cloud, which we haven't really run into with gaming yet, except for MMOs and things like that.
And here's the part where everybody's going to send in messages that we're haters of Stadia and everything. And then, we'll talk later and somebody will be like, man, these guys are shills for Stadia. So that's just what happens when you're when you're not like one side or the other.
Exactly.
Next question, they said, will Stadia have its own global chat and friend system, or will it depend on the game developer to implement this feature? So I think this is a fantastic question because we have an
Sure.
example of this in the real world now. If you look at Xbox and PlayStation, they have their own chat system. They have their own friend system that works. And then you look at Nintendo, and they have a friend system, but it doesn't do anything. And the answer here is, first and foremost, I personally think of games as the main social platform of the future. So we are investing a lot in social communications and safety on Stadia. At launch, you'll be able to manage your friends list, create parties, and use platform level voice chat. And that is just the beginning. We also have a healthy pipeline of social features going forward. I think this is a very important answer, and it is answered perfectly clearly, so we completely understand exactly what's happening here. This is
Yep.
fantastic. I'm very, very happy about this. What do you think, man?
I love it. The fact you're going to have a friend system, you're going to have platform level voice chats. You're not limited to what Epic has done for this game and then what Bob's AAA Games has done for this game. It's going to be platform level. It's going to be just like Xbox Live Party Chat or PlayStation Party Chat. I love that. I wish Nintendo Switch had that because that's what we're really missing on that platform. I love that you'll be able to manage your friends list, do your parties, do everything right from the UI, which in the earlier question that was asked, they asked, when are we going to see your UI? And they said closer to launch. So we don't even know what that's going to look like, but at least it's going to be there, which is perfect.
Yeah, definitely. And somebody, I don't know where it is in the thread because I've read through the AMA a couple times, but somewhere in the thread somebody said, imagine being able to, let's say I'm going to use me and Lloyd as an example. I'm sitting down and I'm playing a game on Stadia. I'm not streaming, I'm not recording, I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting there playing a game on Stadia. And Lloyd looks in his friends list and he sees that I'm playing, I don't know, Marvel, the new Marvel Avengers game from Square Enix. He sees that I'm playing that, right? And he's like, "Oh, I wanted to check that out. Wouldn't it be cool?" And this is somebody else's idea, although it's actually Steam's idea because they did it first. But wouldn't it be cool if they could just say "request to watch"? And
Mm,
then I could say a little pop up on the screen. Lloyd wants to watch you play this game. I was like, sure. I hit the button, and now
yeah.
he can watch. I'm not streaming. I'm not streaming to like YouTube or anything, but Lloyd can sit there and watch me play the game and chat with me or talk to me over voice through party chat. Wouldn't that
Yeah.
be fantastic? And that's
Pl-
something that you can't do on, well, I
PlayStation does that.
PlayStation does that too. I didn't know that. I knew Steam
Ye-
did that, but I didn't know
Yeah.
PlayStation did that too.
Yeah, you can do, I believe they call it share play. So when you can request to view, and you can also request to take control. I can also say, hey, Bill, can you help me with this? Do you want to control my game? And I can share my session with you and then give you control so that you can run around and beat the hard platforming level that I'm in or whatever. So it's been around before, but it's always been kind of janky a little bit. Like it's never perfect. Well, Google has YouTube, which has streaming, where like millions of lifetimes of content is uploaded every day. They're going to get this right. At least the be able to share the video part and send it to people so they can watch.
Yeah, and that sounds really cool. Stadia Crowd in chat says that On Live did that first. I don't know. I know the first place that I saw it was Steam Broadcasting, and I thought it was a really cool idea. And then Steam or Valve did absolutely nothing with it for some reason. Let's see. Okay, here we go. We've got another question. Currently, only the Chromecast Ultra is reported to have Stadia support. Will the Chromecast 3 eventually get Stadia as well, just like other Android phones will get it eventually? Or are there hardware limitations on that version of the Chromecast? The response is we're starting with Chromecast Ultra because, well, we had to start somewhere, and it supports the full 4K Stadia experience in all its glory. We're going to add more options for all of our TV gamers. And don't forget that you can play Stadia games on PCs and laptops by simply opening a Chrome browser. So I think that that's really cool. I fully anticipate that we're going to see this on Apple TV. We're going to see this on Roku. We're going to see this. If Google is smart, then we're going to see this everywhere. There's no reason they don't gain anything by restricting where people can play this. The more people who have the option to play Stadia, the more money they're going to make, both from whatever the rev share is with the games that they sell on their store, the advertising that are on the YouTube videos that are going to be created, and any other places where revenue is generated from this. I think that it just makes sense for them to put it in front of as many eyeballs as possible. You do not
Exactly.
have a Chromecast Ultra, right? Am I correct on that, Lloyd?
I don't have. I have like the original Chromecast that I got for like $5 on sale, some Black Friday sale or something. And I used it exactly once and then unplugged it from my TV. So I don't have a Chromecast in my house. I have Apple TVs on every television. I have a Fire Stick on one of my TVs. So hopefully it'll come to all those devices. So that I'll have my one Chromecast Ultra that I can put on my big TV in the basement, but it'd be nice having Stadia on every other TV as well.
I bet it won't come to Fire Stick because Amazon does not like to play with others, and Amazon owns
Twitch,
Twitch.
Twitch and YouTube playing together would be kind of really hard
Yeah.
to understand and predict. But yeah, I think it'll eventually come to Apple TV, and they discuss that in future comments down below, replies to replies, where they want to have it on everything. But I think what they're doing is saying you need this device and this phone is they're saying, okay, we know that we have this many devices in the market. We anticipate 20% of those people trying Stadia. Okay, there's this many phones in the market. There's only 20% of them are in the area that supports Stadia. Okay, we have 10 million people that could possibly access Stadia at once. And they're just using it as a way to kind of forecast the rollout, because they don't want to have like 50 million people hitting their service right on go on day one, because it won't work for anybody. So they're just using it as a way to kind of slowly beta test it. We're doing the paid beta by being Stadia founders.
Beta testing. That's what I like to call it.
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah. So, hey, Andrew, on behalf of a lot of people in this great community, how committed is Google to at large to Stadia? More people are worried about Google pulling the plug on this service, and point at that as a reason that they're not interested in the platform at all. Is there anything you're allowed to say on this topic? Of course, their answer is, we're super committed. I don't know what this person expected them to say. We're really not all that interested in it. I don't think that there's a good reason for us to do this. You know, I don't know what
think we're going to be here in 2 years. We're just throwing some stuff at the wall. But yeah, I'm already looking for other jobs. Really, is what I'm doing. Yeah, it's kind of funny when these questions come up.
But what I will say is, I'm going to answer that question. The things that Google has, and we've talked about this on the show before, the things that Google has thrown away in the past, Google Reader, and anything else that they've tossed away, has not been something that makes them lots of money.
Exactly.
And if you look at the gaming industry brings in more than the film industry every single year. And on top of that, Stadia is so closely tied to YouTube. And this is something that can make YouTube really flourish even more. So they're going to be making a lot of money on this, and anything that they're making a lot of money on, they're not going to jettison even a little. And some people might say, well, but YouTube gaming, YouTube gaming was YouTube and they got rid of that. They didn't really get rid of that. They just stopped making it its own destination, and they brought it into YouTube as a whole. So instead of going to gaming.youtube.com, you go to youtube.com/gaming. It's still there. They just realized that they made a mistake by separating gaming from the rest of YouTube. So I don't see them throwing this away anytime soon. I think that's a straw man argument as to why you're not interested in it. And there's no reason for, if you're not interested in it, then that's fine. Don't be interested in it, but don't make up straw man arguments. Lloyd, you want to grab some questions and read them?
Sure. Tato23 says, is there anything being done to combat data caps, or is that purely on us to converse with our ISPs? $50 extra a month for me just to not have a data cap. It's not really a question. That's more of a statement, but all right. Andre comes in and says, I can't predict the future, but I've seen that ISPs have adapted in the past. I saw it when I was at YouTube, and we'd expect that to continue. For players concerned about their data usage, we'll definitely have some tools in the Stadia app to manage your data usage to adapt to your unique data situation. But I'm not sure if that will be on day one or a bit later. There's a lot of great ISPs offering plans with hundreds of megabps or even gigabits with no caps. We're seeing different progress in different countries and are certainly expecting ISPs to continually improve the services. So that's more of they're going to change because we're Google, which probably isn't going to happen. But I like the fact that they're going to have tools in the app that can say what you're using, similar to like Netflix. You can go and say, okay, I only want I want a 1 megabit stream. And then when you're on your mobile phone, you're not using too much data, or a 0.5 megabit stream if you're on your phone. If Stadia can do that, that's going to be great for the people that are saying, I have a really low limit, and even 1080p streaming is going to be too much. So they can drop that down to maybe 720p or less and still get a decent game with less data.
Yeah, and if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening to the podcast and you're doing the dishes, good for you for getting something done. But if you're watching us on YouTube right now, if you look down in the bottom corner over there, you can see a little wheel cog. And if you click on that, you can change the resolution that you're watching this show at, and I'm sure that Stadia is going to give you the option to change what resolution you are playing the game at. If you are pro, you're going to be able to go all the way up to 4K. If you're not
Yeah.
pro, you're going to be able to go all the way up to 1080p, but you can also drop it all the way down to 360p if you want to.
Hmm.
Oh, by the way, if you're watching this on YouTube right now, hit that like button and hit the subscribe button. What are you doing, people? Make sure you do that. But I'm very happy that they're giving us the option, because I'd hate to use up a bunch of data that I'm not really utilizing. All of my screens in my house, except for one, are 1080p screens.
Yep.
I don't have 4K screens except for one, and I probably really won't be playing games on that TV very much at all anyway. So
Yep.
I don't
Exactly.
have a need for it. Maxime says Google said that they wouldn't go below 720p, I believe. Well, I don't think that I don't remember seeing them say that. I could be wrong about that, but I don't remember seeing them say that they wouldn't go below 720p. I think that they said that their stuff starts at 720p, but I could be wrong about. Do you remember them saying that they wouldn't go that low?
I no, I don't. I don't remember them saying that. I would just assume, like, if it's using YouTube, their whatever ingest servers that they have, they're automatically set to transcode to all these different resolutions. It would be weird if they stopped at 720p, but maybe they're doing that to. They would do that because the game developers wouldn't want their game looking any worse than 720p.
That's a good point.
So we'll have to wait and see, I guess. But I would just be surprised that wouldn't be an option. But we'll have to see.
And by the way, the number of likes on this video just doubled when I said that. So thanks, guys. You guys are awesome.
Make sure to, after you subscribe, hit the little bell so you get notifications when we go live.
All of the YouTube things that people say.
That's right.
Does the controller support Bluetooth audio? This is from Scully TR. Can I use Bluetooth headphones on Stadia? Lloyd, you want to hit that answer for that?
Sure. The Stadia controller comes with a headphone jack for wired audio, but it won't support Bluetooth audio at launch in November. If you're playing on the computer or a Pixel phone, you can connect the Bluetooth headset to it directly to use it in Stadia. Pretty common answer. I'd be really surprised if you could ever link your headset to your controller then to the Stadia cloud, just because of all the delay that Bluetooth audio can have. But maybe they're using the best Bluetooth antennas and they have the highest level of support of Bluetooth, and that will be an option in the future. But yeah, if you want to use Bluetooth, doing it on a phone or a computer would probably be the way to do it.
I fully anticipate that. How long do you give it before we see products on Amazon where it'll be like a little tiny dongle that is the right shape to plug into the bottom of the controller that will be Bluetooth, and then you can hook your Bluetooth speakers or headphones up to it? Yeah, that's gonna.
They have 1,000,001 of them for cars, and when the Switch came out, it's like use your Bluetooth headphones with your Switch, and they would just all they do is they change the description a little bit to put Stadia in the top instead of Switch being the first one. But yeah, that'll also be an option as well for sure.
All right, but listen, we've got a billion questions and we've got feedback from you guys. Let's take a break, listen to our sponsors, and when we come back, we've got more Stadia Cast. Stick around, everyone.
Sonic 2 handles stubborn stains. Embarrassing bald spots, no problem.
All right, we are back. We are looking at the AMA from Google Stadia over on the subreddit, the official Stadia subreddit. If you want to check out the full AMA and read it, go to the show notes over at runjumpstomp.com. This is episode 18, and there will be a link there to the Stadia AMA. Lloyd, you want to grab another question?
Sure. Thank you for doing this AMA. By time, I'm not even going to say that. Will there be any sorts or any kind of support for alternative inputs like gyro or wheel and pedal setups? And Bill, you and I had talked about this a couple episodes ago about different controllers for Stadia. The official reply from Andre says, if it's HID compliant, we support it, and we're adding more controllers as we go. Personally, I'm super excited about enabling everyone to play anywhere with whatever controller they want, be it a specialized wheel and pedal setup or the Xbox adaptive controller, which we talked about a couple weeks ago. So that's great news. They're going to be supporting kind of whatever hardware you want to bring to it. As long as it's HID, which means your computer or phone will recognize it, you'll be able to plug it in and use it on Google Stadia from your phone, from your tablet, from your computer, from your laptop, from wherever. Probably not your TV though, because most things can't plug into a TV because there's no USB ports.
And I'm trying to look through. Okay, I don't have anything else to add to that. I think you summed it up great. I'm looking through and trying to find more questions that we can add. Is there anything else that you thought was a really good question that you wanted to read about on the show here?
There was one that was a little just kind of an add-on to, can I play it with other devices on my TV? Epic Stream Man, who's a moderator of this chat, says, does Google plan on supporting NVIDIA Shield TV boxes in the future for Stadia Play? And the official response is, my dream is to play Stadia on every device out there. At launch, we're starting with the devices we know best to make sure the experience is great. Hence Chrome, Chromecast, and Pixel. Once we harden the tech and it's ready to scale, we'll expand to more devices, starting with the most popular ones. So even a potential competitor with the NVIDIA Shields, they're willing to drop their app on it. So it would be mainly up to NVIDIA whether they would allow to have a Stadia app floating on their little set-top box.
And the very first question that was asked, are there going to be any free-to-play games on Stadia? The official answer is, all right, let's go. My first AMA answer. And then they said woot. And I'm like, really? Woot? Do we still say that? But okay. We are proud of Stadia's launch portfolio, and it's just the beginning. I certainly hope to have a few free-to-play games to announce in the next few months. We're not ready to share any now, though we are constantly announcing new games, so any answer I can give you now will be out of date quickly. Stay tuned. What free-to-play games do you want to see on Stadia, Lloyd?
Free to play, I want to play Fortnite. I want to have the best looking Fortnite experience, so I can die in beautiful epic resolution settings, because the Switch doesn't look very good when you play Fortnite.
That's right, it does not. But you know, the thing that I like about Fortnite is that that is fully cross-play and cross-progression now. So if I log in, no matter where I log in, if I log on my PS4 or my Nintendo Switch or my PC, it's always the same account. And I do hope, and I didn't see anything about cross. I'm gonna check now. Cross progression. Here we go. Oh, they didn't answer the question. So there's only so many questions that they can answer. Was there anything else that you wanted to add in here before we move on to our crowd play?
I don't think so. Oh yeah, there's one question that I was kind of wondering. So if you're streaming a game to your phone and using the Stadia controller, does your phone and Stadia controller have to be connected to the same Wi-Fi network? And they said yes. So probably not an issue for a lot of people, but you might have a really hard network where you are, and you might be able to get your device on, but there might be a less secure network for other devices. They have to be on the same network. So if you're in like your corporate boardroom and you have a secured network for your phone, and try to put your controller on the guest network, you're not gonna be able to play Stadia. So you're gonna have to plug it in through USB-C.
Exactly. But I'm happy that they said you could just plug it in and it'll still work.
Exactly.
And you know, while it'd be nice to be wireless and wire free, you know, we live in a world where every once in a while you're going to need to use a wire, and I think that that's okay.
And they also chatted. There was a question about cross-platform play. Is cross-platform a realistic possibility, or is it just something Stadia is hoping to achieve? And the official response is, we love cross-platform play and are working to get it with every game we can. Both cross-play and cross-progression are big priorities for us. So yeah, they want to make it happen. So it's up to the game manufacturers and the other platform holders whether they're going to allow that stuff to happen. So Sony probably not, but every other platform is probably going to say, yeah, sure, go for it.
I don't know. I think maybe when the PS5 comes, Sony received so much backlash in this generation from the cross-platform stuff that when the new PlayStation comes out and the new Xbox comes out, and we're at a new generation and they are not already winning, like they're all going to start at the start line just like everybody else, and they're not already winning. I feel like they're going to say, and we're happy to bring you cross-platform, and they're going to pretend like it was their idea all along, which is ridiculous. I do think Daryl Smock Jr. in our live chat says, I think cross-platform is necessary for success. And honestly, for me, if if Google has said we will support cross-platform, so I'm going to support them. Xbox has shown that they will support cross-platform, so I'm in with them. Nintendo has shown that they have that they're supporting cross-platform. I'm all for Nintendo. PlayStation has shown so far that they're a bunch of dilettantes that they want to take their ball and go home. And if that's what they're going to do, then when the PS5 comes out, I'm not going to buy one if they're not supporting crossplay. So video games journalists who get access to talk to the higher ups at these companies, that needs to be their number one question every single time that they get access to talk to somebody over at PlayStation. Is the PS5 going to support crossplay? And if they don't answer it, you should say, okay, interview's over, and walk out. Which will never happen, but we need those answers. And I think crossplay is super, super important.
I'd like to think that Sony is willing to change here, but they've shown in the past that they're super arrogant of a company. And even after having issues with the PS3 launch and changing it for PS4, they're back to their PS2 level of arrogance. This is the arrogant Sony that said, "Oh, you're going to work 2 jobs to buy the PlayStation 3, and you're going to enjoy it because it's going to be such a great game system." So yeah, they're a weird company. They really don't have their pulse on a lot of things, and yet they innovate in so many other areas. So they're a weird company, but hopefully crossplay will be something with PS5, and this whole the crossplay wars will have been just something in the past, and we'll tell our grandchildren about it.
Back in my day. All right.
We couldn't squat up on different consoles.
That's right. Let's jump over to crowd play. We got a lot of feedback from you guys. If you want to send feedback to us, we are at Stadia Cast on Twitter. I'm at RunJumpStomp. He is at Dasme. And we've got a lot of feedback. Plus, we've got your YouTube comments and stuff. So it's always really helpful when you guys tell us things in the YouTube comments. Keep those coming as well. We'll start us off with Mark Dodsworth. Says, hey guys, love the podcast. I heard you skip over a detail about Stadia a few times. Stadia will have an app for Android and iOS devices at launch. It won't be able to play games, but you will be able to set up the controller and make purchases and manage content. That is a good point. We haven't really talked about that. Well, I know that we'll be able to play on Pixel phones, but the other Android phones and iOS, not at launch. And by launch, I don't know if they mean November or if they mean 2020, because we're kind of getting a soft launch in November, so I'm not sure what they mean by that. But I think that that's great that we are going to have an iOS app so that we can say, oh, yep, I'm going to connect my controller to this thing. Because when you have a thing without a screen, it makes it really difficult to do stuff. So possibly, do you think this might help us with things like hotel Wi-Fi through that app?
No. I think that getting devices on the network is still going to be an issue unless you do my magic MAC address thing that I talked about last episode, when I could actually see your eyes roll into the back of your head. So I won't mention it again, Bill. Yeah, I don't think it'll help too much. It'll help if you can plug in your controller and use that app to send the controller data, but I don't think that's going to work. But we won't know until it launches.
You know what I could see happening is you could plug in your controller to your phone using like a little dongle or whatever, and then you could use that app to get your phone or I'm sorry, your controller on the Wi-Fi network, the same way that I do with my lights on my shelves behind me and my key lights here. I get those on the network by using a phone, and I think that could be a possibility. Knock on wood.
And you're definitely going to have to do that. That's the only way that you're going to be able to set up the controller. It has to connect to a device through Bluetooth to then program the Wi-Fi settings into the controller. But when you're in a hotel setting, which is using a secure network, your phone has a different hardware address than your controller. So even doing that won't help in that regards.
Oh, okay.
If you're in an area where if you go on the network, you get a little browser and it wants you to punch in stuff, that controller will never work unless you do some workarounds or know the person that runs the network and get them to whitelist that device.
All right. Anthony Talcott asks, question for the podcast. If you could interview anyone in any department at Stadia, who would you interview and what would you ask and why? Lloyd, I'm going to let you start off with this. I already know my answer.
I'd want to interview Phil, because everyone loves Phil. And I want to ask him, do you listen or watch Stadia Cast? And how awesome do you think the podcast is?
That's right. And I would want to interview Jade Raymond. I would want to ask them or interview them because she is in charge of the first party stuff at Google, and I want to know what the hell they're making over there. And I would ask her, what shirt size do you want? And I would send her a Stadia shirt so that she could wear that because we have our cool Stadia shirts that we made. Exactly. So yeah, there's a bunch of people. I would love to talk to anybody at Stadia. In fact, I asked in the AMA, I said, hey, is there any chance of you coming on Stadia Cast? But I think that they either didn't see that or politely ignored it. Either way.
I'll throw it out there. If there's any Googlers that are listening to this, drop us a line. What is it? StadiaCast@gmail.com.
Yes, sir.
And we'd love to chat with you. We'd love to have you on the show. We'd love to talk to Googlers that are working on the Stadia project. I know there's probably a lot of stuff you won't be able to talk about, but it would be really awesome to talk to someone on the team.
Absolutely. Sofa Spy, I love that name. They said, how would midnight releases work on Stadia? Would everyone have access to the game at the same time, regardless of time zones? Or would it be based on time zone location servers? What happens if your server is connected? What happens if the server you're connected to is in another time zone? My guess is that everyone's going to have access to them at the same time. The idea of the time zone thing is just too cumbersome for them to worry about, I would think, unless it's like a massive game and they're trying to slowly let people on in order to manage how much work their servers have to do.
Right.
But I think the easiest solution for everybody, if their network can handle it, is just everybody gets to play right now.
Yeah.
In fact, I think it would be amazing. Sorry, I'll let you go in just a second. Wouldn't it be amazing if during the Stadia Connects in the future, they could say, blah, 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 here's this new game that we're announcing, and oh, by the way, you can play it right now. Mic drop, we out. I think that would be
Link
fantastic.
Pops up.
Yep.
Link pops up on the video, and it's like, oh my God, we live in the future. This is amazing.
No downloads at all. Wow, that would be cool.
It would be great.
What were you going to say?
Yeah, what I think, if they are going to have limits, it might be limits based on your account. So if your account is a Canada account or a US account or a UK account, if the midnight launch happens, it would be based on that. But yeah, as you said, Bill, we're quickly moving into, like, it's a world economy. It's no longer a US or a Canada or a UK economy for the game store. So yeah, maybe just saying it comes out on the 12th. And that will be, they'll say it'll come out on the 12th in the US. And then if you're on the 13th in other parts of the world, you have to then do the math in your head to figure out when it's actually going to be available.
Trevor Madziba says, I would ask Sundar Pichai how serious he is about Stadia. I think he's serious about making a lot of money for the Alphabet company. I don't think he really cares how it happens. And that's why, because he even came out on stage and was like, I don't really play games, guys. And that was a huge mistake. He should not be allowed anywhere near this thing because he doesn't care about games. However, he wants to make money for Google. And Stadia is going to make money for Google. So I don't think that, I think as long as the money's coming in, he's going to be happy to keep things going because he's not a gamer.
Yeah,
right.
Sundar should definitely not get on stage anymore. Get Phil Harrison up there. Get some of the other team leads, Jade Raymond, some of the other ones that are there that have had media training and have done it before. Because you don't want your boss to come out and say, "Hey, we have a game thing. I don't play games, so I don't know. Here it is." That's the messaging is very rough for that.
YouTube comment from Coleman Dave. He says, I believe all you will need to do is get a Chromecast connected to the network, and you can do this Bluetooth on the phone or maybe even on a controller. The controller connects first to Bluetooth and then through Wi-Fi through the Chromecast. I could be wrong, but I believe that's how it works, and I think that's exactly what you were saying earlier.
The controller doesn't go through the Chromecast. It goes directly to your Wi-Fi network.
Yeah, that's what he said. Through the Chromecast. Okay, yeah, I misread that. See, I don't read things.
They're individual Wi-Fi devices, and the Chromecast doesn't have a separate Wi-Fi antenna to do pass-through. So each device has to get on the network. So if you could get the Chromecast on the network and then plug in a controller through USB, that would be a way around it if there's, for some reason, you can't get the Wi-Fi working for your controller. But I don't know if the Chromecast is going to support that. I don't know what the back of a Chromecast Ultra looks like because I've never seen one. If it has a separate USB port for like plugging in a USB stick or something, if that's the case, maybe it will support it in that way. But I don't know.
I don't think it does. I have a Chromecast Ultra in the other room, and you know what? Here's what we can do. We've got a YouTube comment from Random Noob. Why don't you read that and respond, and I will be right back. I'll go look.
Awesome. All right. So Random Noob writes in, most people that complain about bad, unreliable internet actually do not have an actual problem with the internet, but rather the cheapest of cheap ISP supplied routers. In the past, I used to have regular outages that required reboots, especially under heavy usage. But now I run PF Sense on an old WatchGuard Firebox and Ubiquity Uni. I'm not going to read all those acronyms. I've been running the setup for years, and unless I do a firmware update, my uptime has been 100%. It's made a day and night difference. The same goes for when people complain about speed with my ISP on the support forums. You see no end of people with high-speed connections complaining because of slow speeds, only getting 20 megabits, et cetera, et cetera. The answer is usually Wi-Fi, because 2.4 gigahertz is the strongest signal, but a bunch of tech stuff. Basically, what the gist of it is, if you're using the hub or the switch or the router that is supplied by your ISP, that is probably your problem. That is one of your main problems. In the past, I used to run my own wireless network stuff in my house. And if Shaw, which is my ISP, went down, for a lot of people, sometimes it wasn't actually the network would go down. It would be like whatever service they have on it that manages packets and all that stuff. But my network would still be up. And a lot of people in this area, there's a lot of Wi-Fi networks in this area. They would have all sorts of issues with their devices, and I would be up and running. So yeah, that's definitely a great point, Random Noob. A lot of times the hardware that your ISP supplies is kind of trashy, and if you can buy your own, put in like an Eero or put in like an X-Mesh or something along those lines, you're going to get better service. But that's a huge expense to a lot of people that maybe they're not able to front, unfortunately.
Would you recommend that people get their? I mean, look, I have Google Wi-Fi. I'm super happy with it. I recommend it to everybody. It's fantastic, especially if you got kids, because you can identify specific devices and you can say, hey, everybody, those don't have internet anymore. Go do the damn dishes. You know, it's fantastic. But the thing that would you recommend that people, of course, buy their own Wi-Fi stuff, but would you also recommend people buy their own modems?
The modems, not so much. At least in my area, you're limited to the modems that that Shaw, my service provider, will support. They only support modems that they bought. So you're either buying their modem or you're going to a different provider. I know in the States it's a little bit different. You can kind of bring your own modems because of different laws that you guys have down there. I don't see that as a huge issue. It's more the router. Like I used to have a router from Shaw where after about a week, my network speed would go from 200 megabits down to about 15 megabits, and it would be up and down. Like if I did a speed test, the needle would go up and drop, up and drop, up and drop. And then I would just reboot the router and everything would be fine. So I went to the ISP and they're like, nope, no problems with our hardware. Finally, I eventually convinced one person to replace it, and it worked fine. And then I was like, see, it's your device. They gave me a big credit because of all the problems I had. And then I went and I bought a router and replaced it. And I ran my own network for years and years and years and years.
By the way, I went and I looked at the Chromecast Ultra. It doesn't have any extra ports on it that I saw.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
I don't think that you're going to be able to do that. Fralls in chat says, my biggest question is, in multiplayer, will they segregate PC versus controller players when they are matchmaking? I assume that you mean mouse and keyboard versus controller players when they are matchmaking, and I think that that's going to have to do with the game developers themselves. Like right now, Fortnite does that. I don't believe Apex Legends does that. So
Yeah.
You could be in a match with somebody who's using mouse and keyboard, and you're at the disadvantage of having a controller. But you know, at the end of the day, it's not going to be up to. I don't believe it'll be Google Stadia doing that stuff. The matchmaking will probably be on each individual developer's or publisher's end. We also. Oh, sorry.
Nope, that was it. I was just agreeing with you.
Oh, okay. I'm not used to people doing that. We asked last time, what games do you guys want on Google Stadia? And we're going to wrap this up with these real quick. So we told you a couple games that we wanted. Anthony Talcott responded. He said, games I want on Stadia: Fallout 76, Elder Scrolls 6, World of Warcraft, 4K version of Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, 4K Pokemon Red, and Pokemon MMO. I think that you are a very, very hopeful person, and I hope that you always have the optimism that you have. But Pokemon games are not going to show up on Google Stadia ever. No. We got a YouTube comment from Joshua Woodard. They said Cyberpunk 2077, Kingdom Hearts 3, and so many other games, but I will be happy with Destiny 2 for a while. Although I've seen Destiny 2, the Ultimate whatever edition, on sale for like $10 recently, and I'm like, man, that must really sting Google after they're saying you're getting this much stuff, and oh, by the way, this is on sale for $10. That's got to be kind of a sting. You want to read the one from Gavin?
Sure. Gavin says, I would love Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order to be released on Stadia. I would as well. And a YouTube comment from Power Fantastic. One of my pet peeves of streamers: face cams. I'm here to watch gameplay, not your face. And that's not about the games,
no, it's not.
but it's also a really interesting comment, which a lot of streamers face. No pun intended, or I guess pun intended in this regard. Some people love face cam. They want to see you get frustrated and show on your face. Other people just want to see the gameplay. So that's why there's a billion different streamers out there, and you can probably find one that supports how you want to play.
Yeah, they were responding to, I think when last episode, Lloyd and I were talking about, how Twitch streamers can move over to Stadia, and whether or not Stadia would support that stuff. All right, it's time for us to wrap up the show, where we're coming up on 1 hour. If you want to follow the show on Twitter, we are at Stadia Cast. I'm Run Jump Stomp. He is at Dasme, DASME. Be sure to use the hashtag Stadia Cast so we can find your tweets. We'd like to thank the unofficial Discord server of the official Stadia subreddit for letting people know all about our show, which you can check out over at bit.ly/Stadia Discord. I have a Discord at runjumpstomp.com/Discord. Lloyd has a Discord at ResTV/Discord. And the music that you are about to hear is Subterranean Kamikaze by Zircon. Check out their stuff over at zirconstudios.bandcamp.com. Thanks to the live chat. Thank you, Lloyd, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Later, everybody.